Awesome, awesome. Good morning, good morning. Thank you for joining us. This is an amazing first-time homebuyers workshop. My name is Ameer Elahee. I am a real estate consultant with eXp Realty. I think you can see it on my shirt and in my background. So just a real quick note for us today. This actually is being recorded. So if you want this sent over, then you can feel free to actually put a note in the chat. If you've got questions, we're going to try to answer those questions for you. And also, I am actually in the throes of doing some new research on an amazing program for first-time home buyers throughout the state of California. So I'm going to be a resource for you. So the resource is going to be the fact that, hey, if you need something or you've got a question and you may be working with another realtor, and that's perfectly okay. But it is important to actually work with somebody that actually knows the programs and kind of has some experience in this. But if that's not the case for you, I am still a resource. I've helped other lenders and other realtors get down payment assistance for their clients just because they're connected with me and have taken either one of my classes or been a part of a referral class that I've actually done. So this is going to be an awesome thing. I'm going to just pull this up really quickly because I do have some great news to share with you today. Let's see if we can get this right. We're going to start slideshow. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, we're getting some. All right, so like I said, my name is Ameer Elahee with eXp Realty. There's my contact information. And I'm upgrading my website. So if you get a chance, probably in the next week or so, you'll actually get a notification about the website upgrade. Awesome. Ta-da. Let's see if my screen is changing today. Awesome. So again, just a little bit about me. I've been based in Los Angeles. I have a beautiful wife and two wonderful children who are actually preparing for a pre-Mother's Day brunch. So you may hear some noise in the background, but I am still in good shape. I've been in this business for a long time. It goes back to 2001 when I actually got my license. But prior to that, was actually a home workout or loan modification specialist. I started out in the collections industry and mortgages and retail. So I literally got my license at a nonprofit, became a national trainer. And during the crisis, I had actually two jobs. I joined Keller Williams and started my full-time career, but I was also a management consultant. And one of my jobs is I actually helped set up the foreclosure and loan modification fair. So if you've seen something at the convention center or the fairgrounds, we basically traveled all over the West Coast, helping connect mortgage companies and banks and their modification departments with actual consumer events. And so I spent almost 5 years doing that. And it was really an incredible experience, which kind of helped launch my real estate career. Joined eXp in 2020. eXp actually just reached 80,000 agents. It's very interesting. So I'd done this at the end of last month and we were at 76,000. So just didn't get a chance to upload the new slide or the new data on the slide, but 80,000 agents. We're literally the fastest growing real estate company in the country right now. So it's really a pleasure to be affiliated with such a high-tech company. I've got agents that work on my team in Texas. Actually, I'm bringing on an agent in May in Florida and hopefully in North Carolina. So we're basically a nationwide company. Just a quick caveat, I'm actually going to be opening an office in Atlanta this summer. So we're in the process of getting that paperwork done to get a Georgia real estate license. So really excited about that. EXP is a nationwide country. Actually, we just opened in, looking at Mexico, Brazil, Belize, I believe it was. So we've got, agents all over the country. I get kind of tickled because I like to travel to Mexico. And so each time we go to Mexico, it actually becomes a business trip. My wife has to remind me every time I see a real estate sign or a real estate office that I can't go and stay. But we are international. And so if you've got folks that are interested in buying, or you yourself may want to buy some international property, then just let me know, okay? So I am your real estate professional. And what I like to practice is what is called a one-stop shop. Learn that in my days in nonprofit housing and affordable housing, where basically, once you meet with me, I've got a team of folks. And so there isn't anything in the real estate process that you're going to need that I don't have or have a connection to. And that includes the home inspection, that includes termite inspection, that includes handymen, plumbers, electricians, heating and air, water heaters, roofers. So basically, once you get approved by one of my lenders or a lender that I'm working with, then we'll begin the search. But ultimately, my goal is to make sure that you don't have to go anywhere else. Now, here's what people do. And because the real estate industry is what it is, everybody knows somebody in real estate. And so what typically happens is they want to give you some advice on how to make your offer, or they want to give you some advice on negotiating your contract and things like that. But one of the things that I always say is that when you go, like in the medical profession, it's always good to get second and maybe even multiple opinions. But if you're getting prepped for surgery, then what you don't do is you don't go in and pull in your own anesthesiologist, and you don't pull in your own surgical nurses, and you don't pull in and go get your own surgical equipment from somewhere. You literally trust your head surgeon, and then he provides the team that will take you from, pre-op all the way to post-surgery. And so that's the way I like to consider the process that I like to bring to the table for you. So all the way through negotiations, through escrow of all of your inspection details. If we even need second opinion on appraisals, we'll talk a little bit about that today. Through closing day, then my job and my experience over the last 20 some odd years in this business is basically allow me to be able to have really strong, reputable connections with those folks. And when we talk about lending, I know a lot of you have come through the LA Partners in Home Ownership program that talks about the down payment assistance for LA City and LA County. And one of my great things that I've done was actually, I was a part of that initial group that started LA Partners. So again, you may not need a lender, but everything else, we can actually provide for you, okay? So here's what you're going to need in order to get approved for a loan these days. Now, I stopped at, you're gonna need income. You're really gonna need low to almost no debt with interest rates rising. But here's the one that we're really talking about right here. And if you are in a position where you can pull cash, or you've got cash for a down payment and closing costs, here's the market. And we just are really honest, and we work hard to be able to get people in the homes. But the more cash you have available to put into a project, to put into an offer, the more chances you're going to have of being successful. And so I'm not going to mince words about it. I know people are saying, hey, there's still no or low down payment programs, which we're going to talk about today, but you're going to need cash to put into these transactions in order to make it happen, okay? The lenders are already going to require 2 months of paycheck stubs, bank statements, 2 years tax returns, and they like to see you either in the same employer with the same company. But basically you do need to be in the same industry. And so let's say you were, a grocery store manager, and we'll use that as an example. Well, you don't have to be with Ralph's for 2 years straight, but if you go from Ralph's to Albertsons to Smart and Final, to, I don't know, what's the other, Aldi or Grocery Warehouse. You can actually do those and still be considered. So it's not necessarily a detriment for you, okay? Again, when choosing a lender and filling out the loan application, we wanna make sure that we can do stuff as low as 580. But here's the deal, when you get into competitive types of bidding situations, then sometimes they will ask for your credit score. So the higher your credit score, the better. Okay, it could come down to you actually having the same type of offer as someone else, the same type of cash as someone else, and so the credit could actually be a determining factor. Same thing with down payment. Okay. So here's what's available. Now, here's what you're going to hear from people who are in this industry and talking about down payment assistance and things like that. I'm only going to focus on a couple of them today, but there are tons of them out there. And if the agent that you're working with knows how to write the offer up successfully and connect with the lender, then listen, I do this every day. I do it all day. And it's been a couple months. Well, it's been probably over a year since I hadn't gotten approval, gotten a offer accepted using these programs. So I'm getting them accepted all the time. They are still competitive, but the fact is that people are still doing them and using them, okay? Let's talk about the WISH program. Now, this one is very interesting because it's a forgivable loan after 5 years. It does have some income restrictions. It is not super popular, but it is good to use because they actually are forgiven, number one, and it's a 4-to-1 match. The challenge with using WISH, by the way, is that it actually has lower ratios, and the ratios at this point, you need the max in order to qualify for the max because of the interest rates. So if you'd asked me, 4 months ago, 6 months ago, is WISH a great program and can we use it and use it like readily? I would have told you yes. WISH runs out of money quite frequently, and so they just started with funds and funding deals in April, at the beginning of this month. And because of those ratios and because of the interest rate ticking up, it's going to be a challenge. Again, we're going to look at it and see if that's the best program that you could actually use. Okay, here's the deal with this one. So this is going to be my favorite one to stop here a little bit. So it's 3.5% or $15,000. And then it also gives you 3% for closing costs. So basically the total transaction amount for down payment and closing costs, by the way, is about 6.5%, maybe 7%, the total. So if you're buying a $400,000 home, you can look at needing about a total 7% of that, which is $28,000. Now, here's the deal. You can get almost 6.5% of that $400,000 from the Cal HFA product, so California Housing Finance Agency. So you'll hear us talk about it and call it Cal HFA, or some people call it Cal HAFA. Now, they just introduced a brand new program called Equity Builder. Equity Builder is still going to have some income restrictions, but it is 10% of the purchase price. Okay, so on that same $400,000 house, now you're talking about a $40,000 down payment. Now, when we start writing offers on your behalf, we're looking at writing an offer and submitting it saying, hey, my client is coming in with 10% down. You could still get some closing cost assistance. The almost amazing news, the greatest thing I like about this Equity Builder program is that it's forgivable after 5 years. And it's been a long time since we've had a program like that that actually forgives loans after 5 years in that amount. So we just seen that the WISH is also forgivable, but from a state housing finance agency, it's really, really rare. So we are super excited about this program. I think it's going to make a difference because also with that 10% down payment, it actually will give you a chance to have an advantage when it comes to your financing. So as opposed to financing 97% or 96.5% down, or having a 3 or 3.5%, you may have a higher interest rate. With a 10% down program, then you really can take advantage of a lower interest rate, or possibly even buy down the rate. And so when we talk about buying down rates, that means that you may have, right at this point, 5%. And for a certain amount on that $400,000 loan, we may be able to get that interest rate down to 4.875 or possibly even 4.75. Also want to just make a note here. I saw something and I meant to grab it, but you guys will actually get on my master mailing list. And so I'll be sending out just little updates in terms of market and interest rates and things like that. So one of the things that I saw was that there's actually in 2019, the rate was at 4.5%. And I remember 2018 having conversations about the rate being at 6%. And then there were some market shifts and things like that. So we're literally only about 1/4 to 3/8% higher today than the market was in 2019. Okay, so I know people are like flipping out about the interest rates going up to 5, 5.5. But the actual fact is that, you know what, about 3 years ago, we were almost in the same place when it comes to the actual interest rate. So just keep that in mind as well. Okay, so we got the State of California program that we talk about. Golden State is another program that we work with. And the key with this one is you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. So you could actually own a house and you could actually be selling that property. Now, you can't own both of them simultaneously, can't turn your current residence into a rental if you own it. But if you are buying, you're selling one house to purchase another house, then this is a great program. Okay. So here are the cities' down payment assistance is available, or counties, I'm sorry. LA County is sporadic. There's an asterisk there because they only release funds 3 to 4 times a year. And so you've got to be ready and be ready with a program or down payment assistance so that you can find it. Okay. Here's another program that's available. The city of Claremont, the city of Dana Point, city of Los Angeles, Pomona, Brea. And then the final thing that we were talking about is I just found out about the city of Bell Gardens. So Bell Gardens actually has up to $100,000 as well. And so when you start talking about cities that have it, some of them are project specific. Claremont actually is on the last couple of homes that have down payment assistance, and theirs was actually above 200,000. So some of those funds come and go. Some of them are project specific. And so when you actually do that, you can think about, being at the right place at the right time. And we're able to help you with that in terms of just knowing where funds are available. Okay. Now, this is one of the nonprofit groups that I work with. And this is a huge program, NPHS, which is Neighborhood Partnership Housing Services. Well, I've been around this network, so it's a network of over 200 nonprofits that do affordable housing, first-time home buyers, down payment assistance, all of those different things across the country. And I've been affiliated with this network now for over 20 years, actually. And so they do great work. They've got a couple of programs. And so they've got one called Opportunity that takes you up to $100,000. It does have some income restrictions. I just found out that they've got another $59,000 that has to be used by the end of this month. So I'll probably do some social media stuff coming up this week about this particular product. So by May 30th, they've got another additional $59,000 that they could actually use. So you could actually get $159,000 in down payment assistance. And it is not forgivable. So when you see that note there, it says 30 years. In 30 years, you basically is due and payable. And so people go, well, how do I do that? And I go, okay, well, here's the deal. In 30 years, if you're making your mortgage payment, you, in 30 years, won't have a mortgage. And you're going to have equity and appreciation. And so it's going to be something that you'll still be able to take advantage of. I got to tell people, not necessarily don't worry about it, but the fact is that two things happen. Number one, people don't stay in their home for 30 years these days. But the second thing is that you're going to be able to use this money. A lot of times it's interest free. And so if you use it for 10 years, it literally is like borrowing money from a bank and not having to pay it back and not having to make monthly payments. And then when you get ready to sell, maybe it's 7 years, maybe it's 10 years, you just give them back 100,000 or whatever that principal is that you borrow, and you don't have to pay any interest on it. So I love these particular programs, and they come and go. So there is a program that MPHS has, which is absolutely amazing. I've done some fundraising for them as well in the past, and so I've been a part of their staff. And so monies come and go. And so somebody may come to them and say, hey, we've got an extra $10,000 we need you to actually market and get on the street. And then they'll say, we may have, $100,000 or 250. I'll give you a classic example, which I don't think is here in the slide. The state of California has an agency called the California Association of Realtors. It's a private entity, but the California Association of Realtors has a $10,000 grant for first-time home buyers who are purchasing. And it is not a silent second. Basically, you've got to be able to be buying in Los Angeles, and you've got to meet certain criteria, but they've got, I don't know, $1 million, a couple $1 million that they give away every year for down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. So now watch this. If we actually always talk about being the mad scientist in down payment assistance. So let's think about this. So if you qualify for this 100,000 with MPHS, you will also qualify for the 59,000. Okay, that takes us to 159. Well, then that means that you also qualify for the $10,000 from the California Association of Realtors. We're not going to add that, but remember that 28,000, that's 7% of the total purchase price for closing costs. So now instead of having to come in with 28,000, that $10,000 grant you get from California Association of Realtors brings that down to 18,000. So now we're looking a little bit better. Plus we got 159,000 in down payment assistance on that same $400,000 house. So now it starts to look really, really doable, and you don't have a crazy interest rate. So, that's a good thing. Again, working with an experienced realtor will help you kind of put programs together and know where funding is available, okay? And this has timed me out. Let's see if we can get to back to my slideshow. Nah, it's going to make me go all the way back to the beginning. So that was a huge program. And by the way, just like there's the MPHS program, I think the other program that would have been immediately behind that is another nonprofit that I actually used to work for and do consulting with, which is Neighborhood Housing Services of Los Angeles County. And they have almost the identical programs. So basically, as the money comes from the state of California or it comes from the federal home loan banks, and in our case, we get the Federal Home Loan Bank of San Francisco. So as those funds come down, they basically put them in regions. So MPHS actually covers the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, Riverside counties, and then Neighborhood Housing Services of Los Angeles covers, of course, LA County. And that, again, takes you up to, so here's what we would be looking at covering. We'd literally be looking at covering from Palmdale, Lancaster, throughout all of LA County, the South Bay. And then we'll take you to Inland Empire, which goes from literally the San Diego border all the way out to Palm Springs, the Palm Springs area. And then in San Bernardino County, it takes you up to Big Bear. It takes you to Victorville, Hesperia, Apple Valley area. So you see that with this down payment assistance, there are a variety of opportunities that are available for you, depending on where you want to live. And I will probably close with this, and that is that we've got to be in this market because inventory is still low. And that is the challenge. When you've got limited or low inventory, it's going to take me out of here. When you've got limited or low inventory, then what you really have to understand is that this is the time that you've got to be a little bit more flexible. There's no way to put it. If you're not able to drive because of your support system and your community, then we actually get that, and there's nothing we could do about that. But the fact of the matter is that there are great deals that are still out there. I'm still seeing properties that are under 500,000. They are competitive, but this is a market where, again, we're getting offers accepted almost on a monthly basis, and so it is not impossible to do. We're getting offers with down payment assistance that is successful almost on a monthly basis, and so these things work. Okay, and I'm here to help you. And so if you have any questions, feel free to either put them in the chat. I've got about another 5 minutes we're going to take. And if not, you can definitely contact me. You've got my email. Of course, you got a text message earlier about the event today. So any questions, and you can feel free. It's only a few people here. So if you want to open up your mic, I'll take some questions as well. Okay. Doesn't sound like I see anything going once, going twice. Listen, again, I wanted to say thank you for connecting with us. Again, I think my big announcement, if I had one today, would be the Equity Builder Program. And I am still excited about that because it literally just was released maybe a week ago, if not a little bit longer. But yeah, that's a huge program with 10% down. And so I really like that particular one. And the others too, but that one is new. So I'm excited to see how it works and how we're going to be able to help people get into home ownership in order to be able to do that. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thanks again for jumping on today. This is being recorded, and so we'll make sure that we get the recordings out if anybody has any additional questions.